1,325, coming on a little earlier today. Yeah. Um, I know. That's the Texas in me. Um, you can't forget that I grew up in Texas. I was born in New Mexico there at White Sands Missile Range, but I went to school in El Paso, and of course, high school, my alma mater, all in Texas. You can't take the Texas out of somebody once you live there. So you can't, you just can't do it. Great memories. Of course, met my husband there at Fort Hood, now called Fort Cavazos. I was married there. We had our first daughter there in Texas. She's a Texan. So, absolutely, we can't forget that. Um, this is, I grew up when, on the weekends you went two stepping. You went two stepping on with live bands. Live bands. It was absolutely fabulous. Had a great time. Um, so, doing the polka, doing the waltz, dancing the waltz, two step. It's the jitterbug, swing. Yeah, enjoyed it. Okay, so good news. That's kind of like a little bonus. Sorry, just to let you know where we're coming from, because even my husband has history there at Biggs Air Force Base. His father was Air Force, stationed at Biggs Air Force Base. So we both have many years. I think all of his siblings, I know for sure, all of his siblings were born at William Beaumont Army Medical Center. At that time, I think it was called William Beaumont Hospital. Um, so we have connections in Texas. We have connections in the military. Um, Rob also, we lived in Olney for a little over 5 years, which is just north of DC, because he went to perfusion school there at Walter Reed when Walter Reed was still in its old building. And so we have history there in DC, know the area, and our life has been um, always attached to the military in some way. We've always been go Army, go Air Force, go Army, go Army, mainly go Army. So, uh, and we were determined, to be honest with you, we were determined that none of our children would serve in the armed forces because, not because we weren't um, about serving our country. It's just that we were worried about the leadership and the direction of the leadership in the military. And, we were right. We were right. And we really did not want Richard to join the military. He's America's finest, right? America's finest. And here he was adopted from Poland and grew up in Europe. And yet he was so American that he wanted to serve in the U.S. Army. And not even his parents trying to persuade him not to do it could him. He wanted to serve and he was so excited. And he put all he had into it and became the Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in basic training and also for his cycle in advanced individual training. He was number one. He was absolutely number one. And what do people say? So sweet. So sweet. Um, and and they're right. And if they would have watched this traffic stop by a canine cop at midnight in a parking lot, which we're still trying to find um, because it's just not legally right. You know, it's this Jesus Melendez. He messed up. He messed up, and I know Um, you know, what's the chances that he is a relative of Belen Rocha, right? What's the chances of that? And that Richard, which is very interesting in this video footage that's captured uh, by the police officer, is we know from Belen Rocha that she was there that night, that she had called him, that he dropped her off, that he refused to go into the party. He did not want to. He never did. She told us he never did. And of course he wouldn't. Why would he want to go in there? It's nothing but trouble with all of the drugs, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and the sex cults are everywhere. And our military installation is left vulnerable, which means that all of our most valuable assets are left vulnerable, open. And we do know that for a fact because Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe absolutely cooperated with Brigadier General David Stewart and Dirty Agent Marlon Soto. He's so dirty, y'all. He is so dirty. Um, Corroborated that there were weapons. It was flush with weapons, and we know that they haven't changed anything because we had the report that our intelligence gave us, where they had done a health and welfare check, and they were still flushed with unregistered weapons and more and more. And we also know, because of the 14-year-old girl that was living in the barracks being pimped out, we know that the installation has not been secured, and that there's just no excuse for it. No excuse. And that's why these leaders, like betrayer, treasonous Sean Bernabe, he's at Fort Hood right now. He's at Fort Cavazos, which is, absolutely, he needs to be fired. He needs to be arrested. He needs to be tried, with many more, including Donna Martin, who is right now IG, and she was CID when all this was going on. And so if you want to make an IG complaint about the way the CID handled Richard's case, so Donna Martin has to investigate Donna Martin. That's how it's going. Yeah. Think about that. So she absolutely needs to be stripped from everything that the American people have given her, because she has betrayed and put so many of our soldiers in danger, and I should say service members in danger, and their families in danger. And she has blood on her hands, absolutely has blood on her hands. And so this is a spiritual warfare between, you know, um, what is good and what is wrong, right? Good and bad. And I posted up, I've just been reading some Psalms to keep upbeat in this pursuit for justice for Richard. And of course, to secure our military installations or close them down. Close them. If they're not secure, then close them down, because they're used by the cartel. The cartel has gripped the El Paso community. We have done background checks, and it is absolutely all in that border area and into El Paso. And when Attorney General Ken Paxton came out and said that even the President of the United States was in cahoots with the cartel, absolutely. And we saw even our Department of State sitting across the table, giving them equipment and everything. This means to absolutely close down our military installation until we can try, arrest and try these betrayers, these these so-called leaders that are working for foreign and domestic enemies of the United States that have participated in the narcotics trade, in the human trafficking, the child sex trafficking, the sex cults, the pedophilia, the pornography, which all pornography is child sex trafficking, and of course child pornography is illegal still, thank God. And this is a moral battle. There are people out there, criminals that don't see anything wrong with what they're doing. They can live with themselves as long as they can put the diamonds on their fingers and drive the fancy cars and buy the houses and or buy the houses, make willing and dealing with the mortgage terms and of the asset values, right? Um, yeah, it is, and then money launder, and then the really big thing that they do too is the identity theft. In order to do what they do, they have to steal people's identity because they're constantly doing retaliation. We have been retaliated on Facebook for so long, and they will use all of these fake accounts. And in order to do those fake accounts, they have to steal identity. And so, and we have proof and proof of that, even just right in your face, stealing identity and making threats and harassing and everything like that. So this is really a spiritual battle between what is good and what is bad. Anybody that participates in the con job and is really there to aid and abet the cartel in this country with an open military installation, with tactical move storage units full of weapons and ammunition and equipment, and misallocate those, or fudge the books and then smuggle them out. They smuggle them in truckloads, and so this is absolutely highway robbery of the American people, which is a betrayal, and it is a high stakes criminal network. Okay, these are not just little gang leaders or gang people that are trying to make trying to cause some trouble, right? But doing little crimes. No, these are high stake, high position crimes, and big money, very big money. And so Richard absolutely blew the whistle, and now we have the video of the beginning, maybe not, or part of the beginning of the retaliation and the harassment that led to the threats, that led to him being forcibly removed from the barracks room, that led to his murder, that led to the dismemberment, that led to him being buried in multiple areas. One is in Mexico. Maybe there's more in Mexico. They were looking in 5 places in Mexico. So they were looking in 5 areas. What does that mean? Is this demonic? Is this a demonic situation? They were absolutely, that's why the soldiers were shaking. That's why they were crying and they were shaking, because this sent a loud supervisor, uh, Jesus Eddie Nieto. It is his wife that's in intelligence there on Fort Bliss, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto. It is Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado and his father-in-law, Nadal Baim, the FBI agent that, told us that Richard remains were found in Mexico. And it is Carlos Manuel Salas, who is the AG for the Chihuahua Northern Zone um, there in Juarez, the Attorney General, who threatened a witness in our son's case. Uh, yeah, that's really big breaking news right there, y'all. That's big breaking news. Um, and people need to know that this is a binational, and we have hard evidence that it's binational crime scene. This is not just us guessing. Um, this is absolutely the assault on our U.S. military. Richard is a U.S. Army soldier, and through the connections, even with this canine cop, this video, you clearly see Richard, very, very beautiful, very humble. Uh, I wouldn't say humble in a bad way, showing a lot of strength because of his integrity and his character, and being very respectful, understanding the situation that he was in, being very respectful, being very compliant with everything. And that was right next to the gang unit, FBI headquarters. Well, it's a um, multi-agency headquarters right across the street from the Buffalo Soldiers Gate, where that party place was. And so that was where he would feel very, very vulnerable. And of course, we feel like this was a setup, that they absolutely set him up. And who did that? Um, well, we know from Belen talking to us that she's the one that called him, that she was dropped off there. And, you know, it is interesting that even at that time he was protecting her. So even with calling the CPS, which, if he called the CPS, he had no choice. Belen's child must have been in real danger for him to do that. Okay? There's not a doubt in our minds that these sex cults are hurting children. The Dreams Cabaret is up to no good. That it's hurting El Pasoans, its community, everything that's good there, it's hurting. And so this was a retaliation for the Child Protective Service complaints, I'm sure. That's a motive. That's a really good motive. And we're not making that up. We have it from Belen's mouth. And so the video showing him totally with it, totally, even when the police officer, the canine cop, the dirty canine cop, I would call him a dirty canine cop because I'm the mother of Richard, and I believe he was so dirty, right? This was a frame job. But even when he was talking to Richard was standing at attention, which means his balance was perfect. He did all of the sobriety tests. He did them perfectly, absolutely beautifully, and he was very with it. There was everything that Marlon Soto and the command there, through their PAO, through Stars and Stripes, tried to pin on Richard was all false. It was false. And that's heartbreaking to a family that has been dedicated to the military, and to have the military smear your beautiful, distinguished honor graduate soldier son, who absolutely at that parking lot traffic stop by a canine cop at midnight. Okay, think about that. A traffic stop in a parking lot by a canine cop at midnight. All right, that can be a song. That can be a song. That's a frame up. Okay, that's a frame, and it's really clear that Soto watched it, lied to us. That Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe watched it and lied to us. That P.P. McGee, the SJA, watched it and lied to us. Lied to us because they had nothing on Richard. He was exquisite. He was beautiful. And he was a whistleblower because he didn't like he didn't like the fentanyl getting in the barracks where he's supposed to live. He didn't like 12-year-olds living in the barracks, being pimped out to the soldiers in their sex cult, whatever, evil. And he did not like children being used to make pornography with and being trafficked. He didn't like it. And so, he's so courageous. And this video, a couple videos, it's over, well, two of them when you put them together are over about an hour and 40 minutes. And he just looks so great, so with it. And it was a setup. And they arrested him. They wrongfully, falsely arrested him. And that means, he had to do the $1,000 bail. He was given a permanent GOMAR from Major General Clem Coward, which makes us very suspicious on Clem Coward. Was Clem Coward visiting Dreams Cabaret all the time? Maybe in those private rooms. We'll bring in the general for the private room, right? Maybe he invested in it, invested in the criminal activity that was going on there, because he's absolutely criminal. Absolutely. Major General Clem Coward needs to be arrested. He's absolutely criminal. And we know that he had a relationship with Leilani Hart. We know that. So, and Leilani Hart was getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. So we know that. And she served under him when he was a colonel. So he was there too long, absolutely too long, and he's absolutely criminal. And this video, these videos from the cop absolutely corroborate what we have been told, what we know, that he was retaliating against Richard. Because if you look at these videos and you think about it, that Richard's an E4, and he would give Richard a permanent GOMAR for being with it, respectful, wanting to sleep in his car in a parking lot, because the barracks were not secure. The barracks were not and are not secure. This is a physical and mental security risk for every one of our volunteer sons and daughters. And this is what Clem Coward allowed to happen. He allowed our military installation, and not any military installation. Fort Bliss is not just some little rinky-dink little training, a couple barracks out in the middle of nowhere. It one of them, and stayed in that area. So, because, and I think my dad was there, he might have known him. My mom and dad might have known him, and I remember a plane crash of 27 Germans that were killed. I need to look that up. So, so I know just because of being connected to that area, some of the things going on that are absolutely, if they are going to launch high altitude balloons from Fort Bliss, because White Sands is part of all of that, and they are not secured, and we have an emergency intake center because there's so much land as part of Fort Bliss that they build a very, very expensive, very elaborate emergency intake center for these illegal the illegals that are coming over, and they put all of the children in this emergency intake center and drain, because you can read it in the news. They drained El Paso, all the child care workers, because they needed them. They had so many children at the emergency intake center on Fort Bliss that they did that, and that's why Hearts had a child care in their home, right? Heart Child Care. They did not even vet these child cares because it was so desperate, so needful, and then it's not surprising that her friend, um, you know, knowing because of the criminal complaint that was notarized by Leilani Hart that her family was engaged in pedophilia and incest and the pornography, the production of child pornography, because Dallas was running to his mother's house looking for the child pornography, that her friend child that was military. Okay, so this is a military friend. Leave your child with my pedophilia child pornography family, and then come back later in the evening and he had been sexually assaulted in her master bedroom, and then she waited almost 2 years before she reported it. So she has a long history of crime, and so Richard was just not going to put up with that. No way. In his humble way, he would not put up with that. And I'm really, the video really tells you his state of mind, because in the video where he's burning money, he's a little bit more sure, like, I rather burn my money. Isn't that what he said? I'd rather burn my money than spend it on low. And he made this video. And that was a huge, huge message to us. And then in this parking lot traffic stop, which we still are doing some research. If you know the law, please let us know, because we are looking into these fake sites too, right? There's so many violations here, and that is an indication that they absolutely hurt Richard. That everything that we know, that we have found out, is absolutely true. What we don't want to reveal is where we're looking for his remains, because absolutely we're getting closer and closer, and we want his remains. And and then El Paso, that's going to shake things up, it's already shaking things up with the district attorney's office, with the attorney general's office, with um, with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, because he has engaged himself with the criminals um, that are political, okay? Because the politics play a part, because the criminals want the protection to continue their crime, okay? They don't want the oversight, they don't want the accountability, and our government is supposed to provide us with the oversight, with the investigations, with the accountability. And that's why John Briggs, the likes of John Briggs, was put into place to keep the cases in little pieces, to just milk the taxpayers month after month for the cost of pretending um, to prosecute cases, but yet leave them in pieces and not bring them forward. And so that's not us, that is Yvonne Rosales, that is Loretta Lynn Hewitt, that is uh, uh, Curtis Cox, that is, and I'm thinking about all the people that absolutely, and you can tell when they come into their status hearings that they're just leaving it in pieces, that they're not moving forward. They don't even have a date yet after 5 years for Patrick Crucius's case, which, if he's like such a devil, um, and they've got the right guy, then why haven't they tried him, right? They've had a federal trial. Why haven't the state, why are they still milking the taxpayers millions of dollars to um, uh, to leave the case in pieces? And that's what we're trying to uncover everything, because the people that are involved, like Christopher Grant, right? Ernest Christopher Grant, he's a huge player in this, okay? He's a huge player in this because he was the media sweetheart, and he's a media sweetheart for this white supremacy narrative, for the hate narrative, the racist narrative. And it is vile and vulgar. I mean, what he said, what happened in the Walmart is so vile and vulgar. And we know that he's a perpetual criminal. We know that the whole soda bottle, throwing soda bottles at Patrick Crucius, when Patrick Crucius surrendered himself, he's totally clean, right? He's totally clean shoes, clean pants, clean. So how do you shoot 1,000 bullets? Some people at very, very close up with these high-powered um, weapons and stay that clean, right? And stay that together. Because we're hearing that Dallas Hart didn't stay together, that he fell apart mentally. Okay? That he fell apart mentally. So, yeah, that is, that's breaking news. That's breaking news. And, our intelligence is getting really, really good, because people are very, very, very tired. And I guess they're seeing the bigger picture now. They're seeing the bigger picture, that, where is this going? Where is our future if we let the cartel, with our particular roles in our agencies and organizations, uh, continue to be a criminal network that just hurts, and murders, and absolutely murders. And I think that they're tired of shaking in their boots, and absolutely they were shaking in their boots and crying. Captain Yoshida was crying. That's when we knew, when we got off the phone with him, what the hell what the hell? Why is he crying? And the reaction from First Sergeant Jay Paulin, the reaction from Michael Ruggiero, which are first sergeants, was absolutely huge red flags for us, being so close to the military all of our lives and never seeing anything like it, that these first sergeants would react and respond the way they did. And then when we said that we were coming to El Paso for the military to respond the way they did, well, to respond anyway, by kicking Richard off the rolls right in the midst of finding Vanessa Guillen's remains and Gregory Morales' remains that they had labeled AWOL, um, was very odd and not right. Not right. It stunk. And to be told that we had to investigate our son's um, search and his missing status from the very beginning, that we had to do it. We had to bring them leads. We had to bring them leads, which was absolutely shocking for us. But we just decided that we would gird our loins and start, go there, um, get on the streets, go over to Juarez, whatever it took to talk to people. And it was an experience very different than what we were thinking would happen, because the undercover informants were all over the place, and narratives being fought over, and it was a huge learning curve. And now we know that it was absolutely a criminal network that Richard was whistleblowing on, that he was whistleblowing on Belen Rocha to the Child Protective Services, that this January traffic stop was a retaliation that was bigger than just from Belen Rocha, right? It wasn't just her family, because the military absolutely joined in on the retaliation of Richard. Major General Clem Coward with the permanent Gomar. For what? For what? Right? I've always said that. It was like, I'm so willing to hear, but you're not telling me anything. And the video now is why they couldn't say anything, because what were they going to say? Oh, what they could not say is his name, right? Richard Halliday, the Distinguished Honor Graduate. They could never say, hey, public, we're missing our Distinguished Honor Graduate, right? That's who we're missing. And no, we got that they were mad at him. They were mad, yeah, because Brigadier General Stewart, along with Marlon Soto, along with nasty, dirty betrayer, he's like the worst Sean Bernabe. And Matlock too. Matlock, I never met him, but I met Sean Bernabe, and he is just, oh y'all, he has to get out. We have to strip him. He needs to be arrested. He is just the worst, and not to be trusted at all. What he did, oh my gosh, crimes against humanity. And then on top of that, this. But they absolutely corroborated that and told us that Fort Bliss was being audited for the weapons, okay? So they were very angry at Richard because they were being called out. And so they had to, bring in some other, let's move Matlock out of there. Let's move Major General Clem Coward out of there. And I'm even thinking that Garrett, because Garrett General Garrett, he's a four-star general. He's retired, and he gets these cushy jobs, like, oh, he's a general. No, he is the worst of the worst too, y'all. I mean, he's so bad. He is so bad. He needs to be stripped of every benefit, and he needs to pay back it all. He needs to pay it all back, because I am suspicious of him, and our dealings with him. He did attend Clem Coward's uh, change over to Brigadier General Stewart, the change of command. He did attend that and spoke, and we have that information, and that was really strange, okay? Because absolutely they had these videos. They absolutely are, I think, implicated. It's so suspicious. What are the chances that that Garrett was connected to Dreams Cabaret, to Porous Brothers, to Fong, to what are the chances that all of this is, just one big human trafficking, child trafficking, narcotics trafficking, weapon smuggling, criminal ring that they, invest in. Oh, we'll invest in it, that'll make it better. We won't get our hands dirty. We'll just invest in it. What are the chances of that occurring? And I think that there is a chance. I think there is a chance, and it needs to be investigated. And why do I think that? Because they were scared. They were scared. They were so scared that they had to murder Richard. Okay? Because there is no way, looking at this video, with him being so humble and compliant with yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, that they had to murder him. They could have absolutely sent him to South Korea, right? ADA is in South Korea. They could have sent him to Germany. He would have been happy to go. He speaks German. He speaks some Korean. He speaks quite a bit. He absolutely. My son-in-law is Korean. He would have been happy, and he was even asking, right, for something new to get out of Delta Battery. That was Dallas Hart was the platoon leader, and absolutely they had run-ins. Absolutely, Dallas Hart targeted Richard. There is not a doubt in my mind. And this is, of course, from the mother that has spent, almost 4 years now investigating this day in and day out with Team Find Richard Halliday. And then, Leilani Hart, Dallas Hart's mother, being involved in this with Tavita Nusa losing his badge, interfering in Richard's files and case, and getting information from Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who shares a residency with Danae Katzen, right? Shares a residency at Bliss Avenue with Danae Katzen, which is connected to many others, and then she's there. Those two are talking, and to find out that Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is not like this poor victim's wife, that she was targeting Richard's case, that she's been divorced from her husband for 2 decades, and she's targeting Richard's case, trying to manipulate things. What is she trying to do? And she's trying to dishonor the victims of the Walmart case. Absolutely. What is she playing it? Playing it for money? Oh, I'm so sad, but I'm going to target the missing soldier. I'm going to target, yeah. And then, of course, the Fiscalia, the AG there in Chihuahua, in Juarez, um, targeting our son's case also, and and interfering in it, tampering with our missing person statement. So that needs to be, that needs to be cleared up. But threatening our witness? Now, if that is not responded to quickly, then that everything that we're saying about the cartel having a grip on our agencies and our organizations, including our military, is absolutely true. Okay, and that's why this story is not out there. It's so big because of everything that it's connected to, that there are already the rumors going around, all the professionals, is do not touch the Walmart case because it will destroy you. It will destroy your um, and it looks like it's doing it. It looks like uh, Joe Spencer is going to be a loser in this. It looks like Felix Valenzuela already is, because he's in connection with Richard's case through this Bliss Avenue and Danae Katzen and on and on. Um, and Lalani Hart. Um, yeah, so there's already one prosecutor has already died, and I think they're on their 11th one. You know, uh, this is a person destroyer because there's no justice there. If justice was there and the truth was important, it would already be a done deal. And they would already have we would already have accountability for the vile and vulgar participation by Ernest Christopher Grant and many others, because there was more than one shooter, and him being the media, what role did he have really in that Walmart? This, oh, he's a victim. No, no, no. He is not. No, I don't buy that, y'all. I do not buy that for a minute. Not with Donna Sifford, not with the cop. What was his name? Um, I know the cop's name. It'll come to me in a second. No. And these other so-called witnesses, no way. No way. Not with their connections. I don't believe it one bit. This was a orchestrated. It's kind of like the task force find Richard Halliday, where it's just a dog and pony show, but the Walmart case is so bad because it actually killed people. It actually killed people. And then they capitalized off of it. And then they used it for politics by calling it a white supremacist. And look at they took one of their own, one of the weakest of their own. They took Patrick Crucius. You can look at him through different pictures, do your research, and they took one of their own, and they used him. They used him. Um, you know, and they won't get a mental health evaluation on him because he has a severe mental health condition, a condition, not an illness, okay? It's a condition. That means, what falls underneath that? Autism. So, yeah, it's like taking these Down syndrome children and manipulating them, uh, you know, and you see that a lot going on. I mean, these people are the worst of the worst. They're just the worst. And so this is absolutely something you need to pray about, because this is spiritual. This is, of course, physical, but it is absolutely about morality. It is about what is good, what is bad, And, are we going to take it? Are we going to tolerate this badness? I'm not. I'm not. Because too many people get hurt. And all people get hurt. All people get hurt in this. You think Dallas Hart is not hurt? As evil as he is? You think Leilani Hart is not hurt? As evil as she is? You think that Thomas Halfman and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her son Alexander Hoffman and her daughter, they haven't been hurt through all of this? You think that Belen Rocha hasn't been hurt by this and her children? It hurts all people. The evil, the bad hurts all people. And, you see that with like the great singers, Whitney Houston, just, oh my gosh, voice of an angel. And just, she could just belt it out. My dad loved listening to her. Um, just a fabulous voice. And she had such a terrible, unhappy life and died such a terrible way. And it's kind of like Michael Jackson or, Elvis Presley, if you want to go further back than that. Um, and a lot of the Beatles, and, you can go on and on. The money, this huge fame and everything like that. Um, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I rather be content and be on the side of good, be on the side of God, and smile and be, drive a lesser vehicle, work hard. That's why being a middle class is so important. That's why politics are important, to allow for the middle class to thrive, because it's a good place to be, to work hard, and to make an honest living, a happy living, and to thrive and not have the badness all around you. So, and to me, what's good and bad, you just read the Bible and study it, and you figure out what's good and bad, right? But God tells you you don't even need to know that, because it's written on every part of your body, every cell of your body has His law written on it, and we know what's right and wrong. Um, but I think it's a good thing to uh, to do the Bible studies. Absolutely. So going back to the video where it was just a beginning of a retaliation, and it was for a much broader problem than just the CPS, because of uh, Major General Clem Coward chiming in with the permanent GOMAR, and not, oh my gosh, for nothing. It was so stupid. And I said it over and over again. And then to allow the lieutenant colonel, with David Park, to not even give Richard a, um, a company grade, uh, Article 15. No, they gave him a field grade Article 15 with maximum of the maximum of the maximum punishment, taking away 3 ranks. And the money and the 45 days of extra duty with, the body. And Sean Bernabe, he must have some investments too. That's why they're so rotten. Because who had Richard 6? Team Farm Richard Halliday did, not the Army. They were in on it. They allowed America's finest to be retaliated against so severely that it ended up in his abduction, torture, assault, and murder, dismemberment, and cover up his body parts put in multiple places. That's another reason why they haven't been able to give us Richard. Um, and that's how horrible this is. And I'm in a fog in order to say this. And when reality really hits how horrible this is, yeah, just keep praying. Keep praying because it is so bad. So, thank you so much, everyone, for coming on a Saturday night. And I just want to say that Field Grade Article 15, the GOMAR, for this traffic stop in a parking lot by a canine cop, that, what are the chances that he's related to Belen Rocha? Huh? What are the chances? Right? You can look it up. Jesus Melendez, right? Jesus Melendez. I think he has other connections too. Um, what are the chances? Yeah. So for the Army to respond the way they did, so severely against Richard, that tells you that the audits were absolutely devastating to them. And for Lieutenant Colonel Roddick, I just want to tell you, he's bad, y'all. He is bad. He is bad. We have these sex cult pedophiles, uh, child porn makers. Um, they're just bad. They are so bad. And it is so bad at the border. And this is in cahoots with the cartel. We've been told from, the beginning, the cartel wasn't involved. No, y'all, the cartel were absolutely involved and are still involved. Are still involved. And don't forget, I went to Bassett. I went to school in MacArthur and Bassett and on Fort Bliss. I went to school there. I absolutely know that the cartel were involved. And so hopefully the Department of State will secure our military installation. But they don't want to secure our border, much less our military installation. Yeah, for the barracks to be in the situation that they're in, it's just bad. I think we need to close down our military. I mean, that is where I'm at right now, because to see these 44 four-star generals, to see Mealy gets a job with this Chase Manhattan Bank, right? When he's a total failed leader. When, for Garrett to get these big jobs and he's a totally failed leader. Oh, I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you. No, no, no. That's a failed leader. That's not the voice of a leader. It is, it's so bad. So, by God's grace, by God's power, not by power, not by might, but by my spirit, says the Lord. That's how this whole thing is going to be conquered and be brought down, because it's just prayer. Please pray and please do. And what can you do? You can share. You can share and you can talk about this and say Richard's name and talk about what's going on at the border and on our military installations. You can make videos, you can make up rhymes, you can what memes, whatever it takes to get the truth out there. The more people that participate in this, and it's really, really important, because it's an assault on our country. We're like in a war. They're assaulting our military installations, which mean they're assaulting our volunteer sons and daughters. So what can you do? You can gird your loins and you can start sharing, you can start talking about it, you can um, and really, really look at who is who in the elections, and and be very, very careful, but vote, but vote. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.